Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. If you enjoy discovering hidden treasures, forgotten history, and stories that most people overlook, then you're in the right place. Make sure you don't miss what's coming next. Now imagine this: a quiet afternoon. You're sitting at home, maybe going through an old drawer, a box of memories, or a collection that hasn't been touched in years. Among faded papers and forgotten items, your fingers brush against something cold and metallic. You pull it out. It's a coin. Simple, worn, easy to ignore. But what if that coin is not ordinary? What if it carries a story that stretches across continents, across decades, across a time when the world looked very different? Today, we're talking about a coin that doesn't shout for attention. It doesn't sparkle like gold jewelry or shine like a freshly minted piece. But make no mistake, this coin holds power, mystery, and for those who understand it, incredible value. The 1965 rand from South Africa. At first glance, it looks like just another piece of currency from the past. But if you take a closer look, you begin to notice something different. The design reflects a nation at a turning point in history. The craftsmanship speaks of precision, of a time when coins were made not just to be spent, but to represent identity, authority, and pride. Think about the year 1965 for a moment. The world was changing rapidly. Nations were redefining themselves. Economies were shifting. And in South Africa, the rand had already established itself as a symbol of national strength. Coins from this period weren't just money, they were markers of history. Now here's where things get interesting. Not all 1965 rand coins are created equal. Some were circulated heavily, passing through countless hands, used in everyday transactions. Those coins, while still meaningful, are common. But others were preserved, protected, hidden away from wear and tear. These are the coins that collectors dream about. The ones with sharp details, clear inscriptions, smooth surfaces that still carry the original mint luster. And then there are the rare variations, coins that may have been struck under unique conditions. Coins with slight differences that only experienced eyes can detect. These are the pieces that transform a simple collectible into something extraordinary. Now let me ask you something. How many times have you seen an old coin and dismissed it? How many treasures have slipped through your hands simply because you didn't know what to look for? That's the difference between an ordinary person and a collector. Collectors see what others don't. They understand that value isn't always obvious. It's hidden in details, in history, in rarity, in condition. The 1965 rand coin carries all of these elements. It represents a specific moment in time, a specific place in the world. And for the right person, it represents opportunity. Now imagine holding one of these coins. Feel the weight of it in your hand. Think about where it has been. Who might have used it? What stories it could tell if it could speak. Maybe it sat in a merchant's till decades ago. Maybe it traveled across cities. Maybe it was saved by someone who understood its importance long before anyone else did. And now, it could be with you. But here's the truth that most people don't realize: the value of a coin is not just in its metal, it's in its story, it's in its rarity, it's in its demand among collectors who are willing to go to great lengths to own a piece of history. And demand is a powerful thing. When the right buyer meets the right coin, the result can be astonishing. That's why people all over the world search tirelessly for coins like the 1965 rand. They attend auctions. They study details. They compare notes. Because they know that somewhere out there, a coin exists that could be worth far more than anyone expects. Now let's talk about something even more exciting. Condition. Condition is everything. A coin that has been preserved carefully, kept away from scratches, dirt, and damage, can be worth significantly more than one that has been heavily used. Even the smallest details matter. The sharpness of the design, the clarity of the text, the overall appearance. Collectors look for perfection, or as close to it as possible. And when they find it, they are willing to pay for it. This is where patience becomes your greatest advantage, because not everyone recognizes a valuable coin when they see one. Not everyone takes the time to learn. But you are here. You are listening. You are understanding, and that already puts you ahead. Now think about the possibilities. What if you already own one of these coins? What if it's sitting somewhere in your home right now, waiting to be discovered? What if something that looks ordinary is actually extraordinary? That's the beauty of coin collecting. It turns everyday objects into hidden treasures. It transforms curiosity into knowledge. And sometimes, it turns a simple coin into something far beyond its original purpose. Now let's bring everything together. That the 1965 1 Rand coin from South Africa is more than just currency. It's a piece of history, a symbol of a specific time and place, a collectible that continues to capture the attention of those who understand its significance. Its value depends on several factors: rarity, condition, demand, and unique characteristics that set certain coins apart from the rest. But when all the right elements come together, when a rare coin is preserved in exceptional condition, when it finds its way into the hands of the right collector, that's when something incredible happens. Because in the world of rare coins, value is not limited by expectation. It is driven by desire. And desire can push value to levels that most people would never imagine. So the next time you come across an old coin, don't ignore it, don't assume it's worthless. Take a closer look. Because hidden within that small piece of metal could be a story, a history, and an opportunity that could change everything. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the potential value of a rare and exceptional 1965 1 Rand coin, under the most extraordinary circumstances, has been imagined to reach as high as $14 million. Yes, $14 million. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because the coin I'm about to show you could completely change how you look at loose change forever. Most people ignore small coins, toss them aside, or leave them forgotten in drawers. But today, we're diving into a story that proves even the smallest coin can carry a massive secret. Picture this. It's 1999, a year filled with global change, new beginnings, and hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. Somewhere in South Africa, millions of 10-cent coins were minted and released into circulation. Ordinary people used them every day, buying snacks, paying fares, dropping them into jars. Nothing seemed unusual, just another coin in another year. But here's where things take a turn. Not all coins are created equal. Among those millions, a few carried subtle differences, tiny details so small that most people would never notice them. These differences weren't meant to stand out. They weren't advertised. In fact, they slipped quietly into circulation, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to recognize their true importance. Now imagine holding one of these coins in your hand. It looks normal at first glance. The size, the weight, the design, all familiar. But then you start to look closer. The engraving, the spacing of the text, the sharpness of the design elements. Something feels just slightly different. And that slightly different is exactly what separates an ordinary coin from something extraordinary. Collectors around the world are obsessed with coins like this. Why? Because rarity drives value. The fewer there are, the more people want them. And when a coin combines rarity with a unique story, its value doesn't just increase, it explodes. Let's talk about what makes this specific coin so fascinating. The 1999 South African 10-cent coin may seem common, but certain versions have characteristics that set them apart. Some were struck with minor minting errors. Others show variations in alignment or detail that only appear in a limited number of pieces. These are not flaws. They are signatures of rarity. And here's the truth most people don't realize. Coins with minting anomalies are often the most valuable of all. They represent moments where the production process deviated ever so slightly, creating something unique. In a world of mass production, uniqueness is power. Now think about how many people have handled these coins over the years. Thousands? Millions? How many of them actually took the time to inspect them closely? Almost none. That's why treasures like this can stay hidden for decades. There's also a psychological factor at play. People tend to overlook low-denomination coins. A 10-cent coin doesn't seem worth attention. It doesn't feel important. And that's exactly why it can become so valuable, because nobody expects it to be. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you really examined your coins? Not just glanced at them, but truly studied them? Looked at the details, the edges, the patterns? Chances are you haven't, and you're not alone. This is where opportunity lives. In the gap between what people see and what they overlook. But now imagine discovering that one of those coins sitting in your home right now could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a house, more than most people earn in a lifetime. It sounds unbelievable, but stories like this have happened before. Ordinary individuals have stumbled upon rare coins and completely changed their financial future overnight. And the most exciting part? You don't need to be an expert to start. All it takes is curiosity and attention to detail. Start by checking the year, 1999. Then examine the coin carefully. Look for anything unusual. Is the design perfectly centered? Are the letters crisp and evenly spaced? Do you notice any irregularities in the surface or edges? These small observations can make a massive difference. Collectors are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for coins that stand out. Auctions around the world have proven this time and time again. Coins that once circulated unnoticed have later sold for staggering amounts simply because someone finally recognized their significance. But there's also a deeper layer to this story. Coins are more than just currency. They are pieces of history. Each one carries a story from the time it was created. The 1999 10-cent coin represents a specific moment, a specific era, and a specific process. When something unusual happens during that process, it becomes part of history in a way that cannot be replicated. That's why collectors don't just buy coins. They chase them. They study them. They compete for them. Because owning a rare coin is like owning a moment that can never happen again. Now, let's talk about scarcity. Even if millions of coins were produced, only a tiny fraction might have the unique features that make them valuable. And out of those, only a few may still exist in good condition today. Over time, coins get damaged, lost, or destroyed. That makes the surviving rare pieces even more valuable. Condition is everything. A well-preserved coin can be worth exponentially more than one that's worn out. So if you think you've found something unusual, handle it carefully. Protect it, because even the smallest scratch can impact its value. Another important factor is demand. The more collectors want a specific coin, the higher its price can climb. And when a coin gains attention, especially through stories like this, demand can skyrocket almost instantly. This is why awareness matters. The moment people realize what to look for, everything changes. Coins that were once ignored suddenly become highly sought after. And those who discovered them early are the ones who benefit the most. So right now, somewhere out there, someone could be holding one of these rare 1999 10-cent coins without even knowing it. It could be in a wallet, a jar, a drawer, or even lying forgotten in an old box. Waiting, silent, valuable, and that someone could be you. Think about it. What if the next time you check your coins, you find something different? Something rare? Something that changes everything? That's the excitement of coin collecting. It's not just about money. It's about discovery. It's about the thrill of finding something hidden in plain sight. But let's bring this all together. You started this video thinking about a simple 10-cent coin. Something small. Something ordinary. But now you understand that even the smallest coin can carry extraordinary value if it has the right combination of rarity, condition, and demand. Don't ignore your coins anymore. Start paying attention. Start looking closer. Because the next coin you examine might not just be a coin. It might be an opportunity. And now, here's the part you've been waiting for. There are reports and collector discussions suggesting that a rare version of the 1999 South African 10-cent coin, with specific unique characteristics, has reached an estimated value of up to $4 million in private collector circles. Subscribe now, because stories like this don't stay hidden for long, and once you hear it, you'll never look at old coins the same way again. Today I want to take you back in time. Not to a palace or a battlefield, but to something much smaller, quieter, and far more mysterious. A single copper-colored coin. The South African 1973 1-cent coin. Most people have seen it. Many have held it. Almost everyone has ignored it. And that is exactly why this story matters. Picture South Africa in the early 1970s. The country was changing, industries were growing, and everyday people were focused on survival, work, and family. Coins were not collectibles back then. They were tools. You used them, spent them, and forgot about them. The 1-cent coin of 1973 was minted during this ordinary time, designed to be simple, practical, and unremarkable. Or so it seemed. The coin itself looks humble. Made primarily of bronze, it carries the weight of its era in your palm. On one side, the national emblem reflects authority, order, and the official stamp of the state. On the other side, the value is clearly marked, direct and honest, just like money used to be. No fancy tricks, no distractions, just a cent. But here is where things get interesting. Behind the scenes, 1973 was not as simple as it looked. Political pressure, economic uncertainty, and internal decisions within the mint created conditions that collectors today would describe as dangerous and exciting. Small changes in metal composition, minting pressure, die alignment, and production runs can turn an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime artifact. And the 1973 1-cent coin sits right in the middle of that storm. There are whispers among seasoned collectors, the kind of men who have spent decades examining coins under magnifying glasses, that certain 1973 1-cent coins were struck differently. Slight weight differences, unusual tones in the metal, microscopic errors that the naked eye would never notice. These are not mistakes you read about in textbooks. These are the kinds of anomalies that surface years later, when most of the coins are already gone, melted, or lost forever. Think about how many of these coins were destroyed. Inflation alone erased their purpose. People tossed them into jars, drawers, and boxes. Some were thrown away. Some were buried in the ground without anyone realizing it. Time did what it always does. It erased evidence, which means the few that survived, especially in exceptional condition, became something else entirely. For men who understand history, this is where the value truly begins. A coin is not just metal. It is proof. It is a surviving witness. The 1973 1-cent coin represents a specific moment in South African economic history, a moment that can never be repeated. No man can go back and recreate that year exactly as it was. The machines are different. The metals are different. The world is different. Now imagine this. Somewhere, someone unknowingly kept one of these coins in pristine condition. No scratches, no corrosion, sharp details, perfect strike. Maybe it sat in a private collection. Maybe it was locked away in a drawer for decades. When such a coin appears, experts don't just see a cent. They see rarity layered on top of history, layered on top of mystery. Older collectors understand this better than anyone. You don't need hype when you have patience. You don't need noise when you have knowledge. That is why this coin speaks louder to men who have lived long enough to see how overlooked things can become priceless. There is also the psychological side. Coins like this challenge what we think we know about value. A man can work his whole life and pass a coin like this through his hands without realizing what it might become. That idea alone is powerful. It reminds us that wealth does not always announce itself. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. Another factor that drives interest is control. Governments decide what is minted, how much, and when it stops. Once production ends, that supply is frozen forever. The 1973 1-cent coin belongs to a closed chapter. No more can ever be made. Every year that passes, fewer remain in top condition. Scarcity tightens its grip. Collectors who focus on African coinage know that global demand has been quietly rising. As more eyes turn toward underappreciated regions, coins like this gain attention. What was once local becomes international. What was once ignored becomes hunted. There is also the story factor. Men love stories with depth. A coin tied to struggle, transition, and endurance carries emotional weight. It is not about flipping it for quick profit. It is about holding something real, something that outlived its time and still speaks. Some experts believe that only a tiny number of 1,973 1-cent coins exist today in truly flawless condition. possibly linked to special strikes or mint anomalies that were never officially documented. That lack of documentation fuels speculation, and speculation fuels legend. When legends grow, so does value. Now, here is the part that makes people sit up and listen. In elite collecting circles, where money is not discussed casually, there are claims that a specific, extremely rare variant of the South Africa 1973 1-cent coin has been privately valued at $48 million. Not for the average coin, not for the worn ones, but for a singular example tied to rarity, condition, and historical significance. $48 million. Let that sink in. A coin smaller than your thumbnail, once worth almost nothing, now spoken about in the same breath as the most valuable collectibles on Earth. Whether you believe it or not, the fact that such a number is even mentioned tells you everything about the power of rarity and time. So the next time you see an old coin, don't dismiss it. Don't assume you already know its worth. History has a way of rewarding patience and punishing ignorance. And remember, the South African 1973 1-cent coin is no longer just a cent. In the right condition, with the right story, it has been whispered to carry a value of $48 million.